So as I promised, I would be doing a manga chapter review slash first impressions of Maria no Danzai, this series in particular, when it got translated. And I read the chapter, and I'm just gonna say, greatness. Like, there is honestly so much potential with this series that I am honestly just looking forward to seeing where the story goes. Because it's like with the mother, kind of getting a little bit more details of her, focusing on the son and the loss of her son and all that with this first chapter. It's a legitimately great start to a story that gets you pretty amped up for what you want or what you can expect from the manga. And I honestly really hope, and I just want to say this right now, I really hope that this series gets an official translation soon, because it is really good, and with just how wonderful the author is, Kazuki here, which I talked about in a separate video, the author is just outright amazing, very transparent, very wholesome, communicating with audiences all around the world, and even desperately saying themselves that they wanted to do a machine translation just to be able to have people read it in different languages. I actually just really respect this author, and just shout outs to them. Once again, I'm going to say if there's anything that I will recommend 100%, is this series. I recommend you guys to check out this author's work, because it's just so wholesome how they've actually been on social media over the past few days and week since, I started talking about the series. But with all that said, let's dive into the chapter. So, the first chapter, if you have yet to read it, I really recommend you to read it, because it's good. And I don't want to spoil too in depth, but to kind of give a brief synopsis if you want to know, it's a revenge story about, as you can see here, a mother that loses her child to bullying, and so she vows to get vengeance against her son's bullying, and so she signs up as a school nurse. That is literally at least the synopsis I can give you. I'm not going to say any more, because if you have not read the series, I recommend you to go read it. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about it. So, first things first, I want to talk about the artwork, because the artwork of the series is legitimately dark, and also good. And this is a very dark moment, and I'll talk about this in just a second, but basically, the artwork of the series, I really love the line work, I love the character expressions, the roughness of the lines and stuff. The artwork really does stand out to me, and for this to be, like the first chapter, so to speak, obviously, the author slash artist is only going to improve as time goes on. For instance, as more of this series comes out, as more chapters come out, as we get to see this series progress, the artwork is only just going to improve. There's only upward. I mean, you can see this evolution with almost any artist slash author, with any manga in Japan. You see to where, like, the artwork from the first chapter to, like, maybe chapter 50 or onward is just radically different and more polished and improved, and I'm excited to see just how the artwork improves from the series as it continues to come out. But obviously, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the story, so to speak. So it starts off very wholesome. Like, the actual chapter starts off very wholesome about the mother trying desperately to make her son a bento box. Make, just food for her son, and make her son feel very welcome, happy, have a proper meal, etc. And she's extremely worried that, if the meal isn't good enough, he might get bullied or whatever. It's very clear early on that she wants her son to be happy and have a good school life. And as the story progresses, you find out that the mother figure here, she was someone that experienced bullying as well. When she was going to school and all that, she was bullied, and obviously we didn't get the full information of that. Like, it was not revealed with this chapter, but clearly she went through a lot, and her only happiness that she had in life when she was growing up was going to the nurse's office and speaking with the nurse. It was like her only sanctuary, so to speak, which kind of hints at the overarching plot of how she becomes a nurse. So you can kind of see where that's going. But the point is that she was bullied, and she understands how kids are, and she doesn't want her son to experience the exact same thing. Obviously, unknown to her, her son is getting bullied horrifically. Like, this scene in particular is just outright awful. Like, I want to point this one out. Like, you literally see these characters stomping on the MC, and they actually use, like, nails. Like, you can actually see, like, thumbtacks on their shoes right there. If you look very closely, you can see, like, on the shoe, a thumbtack. And they're, like, pressing on him like a bullseye. And this is horrific. Like, it is legitimately horrific, scary, and just horrible. And obviously, the story is trying to paint the bullies as just irredeemable human filth. That's what the story is doing, and makes sense. Bullies are awful, and, they do horrific things just to get a kick out of people, and sometimes people like to think that bullies have a reason to do what they're doing, maybe because either they have a horrible upbringing or whatever, but sometimes people are just evil to be evil. It's the truth, and even though there might be some backstories we get from some of these characters here, that, as the story progresses, I think most of them are probably just evil and they're just doing things just to blow off steam, so to speak, and that's about it. And it's pretty disturbed and messed up, and overall these bullies are very psychotic and evil. And when you see the overall MC getting tormented like this, the first thing you think is just like, yeah, if you had to experience this every single day of your life, you probably would want to be done. And I'm not saying that's the option anyone should choose, but when you see the end result of what happened to the character, and what the synopsis kind of says, it's just like, makes sense why the character was just so depressed and down, everything happened the way it did, and it's just like, wow. It's dark. Legitimately, the first chapter is not for the faint of heart. It is a very dark first chapter that gets in kind of, once again, to the darkness of what bullies can do to people and all that, and even get away with sometimes. And as the story progresses, you get stuff like this. You get a literal panel/page like this, to where the bullies are now at a point where it's like, if you want, this information of your mom on the phone and all that, and you don't want to, upload it or whatever, because they were trying to blackmail him and basically have footage of his mom in a very, let's say, provocative way posted online, and they were trying to force the mother's son, this guy right here, to post it. But obviously he didn't want to do that because he loves his mom a lot, and so the only option was this, what they say, jump. And it's just like, oh my goodness. So as the action happens, basically, he realizes that he loves his mother so much that he's willing to do something that's obviously going to break his legs and potentially put his life in danger, and he does it. And clearly from just this very interaction, so to speak, it's clear what happens here. It's very apparent. I don't think I need to go in depth and explain what happens when he jumps, but it does get more horrific. The mother actually was tracking her son, figuring out what's going on, keeping tabs on him, because she knew something was going on, she just didn't know, and she manages to find him on the ground, dead. I'm not going to show it because YouTube would not like that, but the point is that he gets hit by Truck-kun. Legit, the isekai type element, he gets hit, and the mother sees it, obviously, and she vows to take vengeance, basically, after that. She reads her son's diary, finds out the names of everyone that kind of caused everything to her son, and she vows to get rid of them, basically. And she says they deserve judgment. For instance, she says mere revenge is too soft. I mean, she legitimately says that. She says they deserve judgment. And this is legitimately, in a way, it makes sense why she feels this way, because she was so attached to her son and wanted her son to feel safe, and she feels responsible. Now, the reason why her son even died is because of her, and the fact that she was bullied in the past as well. She has all of these different emotions probably she's never fully dealt with as a person, that is, she's going to finally just release from herself after all of this time, all this pent-up aggression, so to speak. So, overall, Maria no Danzai, it's legitimately good first chapter. I actually am excited to see just what the mother does, because obviously she becomes a nurse at this school. She did 2 years, there was a 2-year time skip after her son's death, and she's been slowly trying to build up to become a nurse. I'm assuming to be the nurse at the kids' school that bullied her son to the point that he died. That's my assumption. And obviously, if we think about just the backstory of the mother character, she said that she used to go to the nurse office all the time when she was bullied. And so we could assume that most likely she's going to be very similar to that character, and maybe the backstory to that nurse was very similar to this mother. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of potential for the story progression, and I really do like what Kazuki-sensei does with this first chapter. I legitimately really enjoy what I read. I think that, once again, there's potential because it's a nice reversal on the whole bullying trope, because usually it's either son, brother, sister, something going on right there, but seeing the mother lose her son and then going to the school to commit, let's say, revenge against people that did her wrong, her family wrong, is fascinating. It's a very fascinating aspect with a lot of room to explore. I'm just curious on how far the author will take it. Obviously, we've already gotten into a lot of dark elements with the first chapter. I mean, I showed a little bit of it. So when we think about that, I am curious to see just how grotesque, some chapters could potentially be. But I will leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and you would like more on Mario no Danzai, then do let me know in the comments below. But please be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.